Before we begin, if you believe no one deserves to be judged by the color of their skin, if you believe in justice and second chances, hit that subscribe button right now and join us at Wealth and Wounds, where every story uncovers truth, pain, and victory from the shadows. The sun burned over South Carolina, 1998. Dust floated like gold through the air as 8-year-old Naomi ran barefoot through the orphanage yard, her laughter cutting through the silence of a world that had already given up on her. She didn't know her parents. The nuns said her mother left her at a hospital after birth. They told her her father was gone. But Naomi didn't care, not that day. She was full of light, always helping the younger kids, always painting the world in color even though her own life was stuck in black and white. But that changed the day the new officer came. Officer Rayfield Carter, tall, white, cold eyes. He'd been assigned to protect the orphanage after a few thefts nearby. But protection wasn't what Naomi saw in his gaze. What she saw was something darker, a kind of hate that looks for a reason to destroy. "You kids stay in line," he barked one afternoon. "Ain't no need for troublemakers here." Naomi stood quietly, clutching her worn Bible, her hair tied in pigtails. When the officer passed, he stopped, looking at her skin, then her eyes. "You from around here?" he asked. "No, sir. I grew up here." "Right," he smirked. "Figures." She didn't understand what that meant then. But she would. It started small, a few coins missing from the orphanage office. Then toys. Then food. Each time, Officer Carter came with his notepad, his hand on his gun. One afternoon, he lined all the children up under the blistering sun. "Somebody here's been stealing," he said. "And I got a feeling I know who." Naomi's heart pounded. She'd never stolen a thing in her life. But she saw his eyes land on her, that same cold stare. "You," he said. "Step forward." "Me? I didn't take anything." "Don't talk back." He pulled her by the arm. The kids gasped. Sister Margaret tried to step in, but Carter barked, "Back off, sister. This one's coming with me." Naomi was dragged into the orphanage small office. The door slammed. 15 minutes later, she came out, tears streaking her cheeks, her hands trembling. He hadn't hurt her physically, but he'd broken something else, her innocence. "You listen to me," he whispered before she left. "You're trouble, and trouble ends up behind bars." That night, Naomi didn't sleep. She prayed, "God, if you're real, please protect me." A few weeks later, the police returned. Officer Carter led them, with confidence. "Got her," he said, holding up a small bag of jewelry found in Naomi's drawer. "Stolen from Sister Margaret's desk." Naomi's mouth fell open. "That's not mine. I didn't." "Save it," Carter said. "Caught you red-handed." Sister Margaret's eyes were full of confusion and sadness. "Naomi, tell me this isn't true." "It's not," she cried. "Someone planted it." But nobody listened. The handcuffs clicked. Naomi, 11 years old, was taken from the orphanage and placed in a juvenile detention center. Her tiny wrists were bruised from the cuffs. The papers read, "Black orphan caught stealing from church." Carter smirked as he watched the van drive off. He'd made sure her name would be stained forever. If you're still watching, take a second to subscribe. Because stories like this, stories of injustice, of pain, of strength, they deserve to be heard. Your voice, your click, your comment, it helps bring light to the darkness. Hit subscribe right now and be part of the change. Juvenile detention was hell. Naomi was smaller than most. She learned quickly that nobody believed an orphan. But inside, a fire began to grow. Every night, she'd sit by the small barred window and whisper to herself, "One day, they'll know the truth. One day, I'll stand where he stood, but not as a cop, as someone higher." At 16, she was released early for good behavior. She had no family, no home. But she had one thing, a dream. She worked nights cleaning offices, saving every dollar. By 21, she got into a community college, then law school. She studied like her life depended on it, because it did. One night, she saw his name again. Officer Rayfield Carter, now Captain Carter, still in the same city, still destroying lives. Naomi swore that she would never forget. Years passed. Naomi, now 32, walked into the courthouse for her first major case as a public defender. Her client, a young black boy falsely accused of theft by none other than Captain Carter. The irony was poetic. When Carter walked in and saw her, his jaw tightened. "Naomi, you're..." "Attorney Naomi Brooks," she said calmly, "defending my client." For the first time, he looked small. Throughout the trial, she tore through his testimony like a blade. She exposed inconsistencies. She found evidence he'd forgotten to log. And when she showed the jury his pattern of targeting minority kids, the courtroom went silent. The verdict, not guilty. Carter's rage boiled. "You think you're somebody now, huh?" he hissed afterward. "I'm just getting started," she replied. Naomi's success spread fast. Her name made headlines. Former Orphan defends the innocent. Eventually, the governor appointed her to the bench. She became Judge Naomi Brooks, the youngest black woman ever appointed in her city. Her first day in court as a judge, the sound of the gavel echoed, and something inside her healed. But fate wasn't done. One rainy morning, she was handed a case file. State versus Rayfield Carter, the same man who framed her, now accused of planting evidence and racial misconduct. When Carter entered her courtroom, his eyes widened in disbelief. You can't be serious." "Sit down, Mr. Carter," she said, her voice calm, commanding. "This court is now in session." The trial was brutal. Witness after witness came forward. Officers, victims, families. The truth unfolded like a wound ripped open. Naomi didn't need revenge. She only wanted justice. When the verdict came, guilty, she didn't smile. She simply whispered a prayer. "For every child you broke, may they rise." As Carter was led away in cuffs, his eyes met hers. "You'll never change the system," he spat. "Maybe not," she said. "But I changed the story." The courtroom applauded. For once, the gavel didn't sound like punishment. It sounded like freedom. A month later, Naomi returned home from court to find an envelope on her doorstep. Inside was a photo, a picture of her as a child at the orphanage. On the back, in faded ink, were the words, "You don't know who your father was, do you?" Her hands trembled. Beneath the photo was a second line, in Captain Carter's handwriting. "He worked with me." Her world stopped. Was her father part of the same police force? Was he the reason Carter targeted her all along? The camera would zoom in, her face pale, breath shallow. Fade to black. To be continued. If that ending shook you, if you believe in Naomi's fight for truth, don't just scroll away. Like, comment, and share this story so the world never forgets how powerful justice can be. And before you go, hit that subscribe button